Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a real mystery, one that's hidden right inside the pages of one of the most important books ever written. Have you ever picked up a Bible and noticed something a little different? Like the table of contents isn't always the same? Well, the reason why is an amazing story about history, language, and of course, faith. Okay, so take a look here. On the left, you've got the Jewish Bible, the Tanakh. It has 24 books, and it wraps up with the Book of Chronicles. But then on the right, you see the Christian Old Testament. It has 39 books, and it ends with the prophet Malachi. Now, here's the thing. It's basically the same material inside. The book count is different mostly because some books are combined in the Tanakh, but the ending is completely different. So what's up with that? All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to play detective. Think of the original collection of these books as this incredible ancient library. Our mission is to figure out how this one library ended up with two totally different floor plans. So, this original library we're talking about, that's the Hebrew Bible. To the Jewish people, it's known as the Tanakh. And it's not just a random pile of scrolls. It's a collection that was put together very, very carefully, with a specific design in mind. And the name itself, Tanakh, is super clever. It's actually an acronym, Ta, Na, Ka. It's like a map that guides you through the three main sections of the library. You've got the Ta for Torah, which means instruction, the Na for Nevi'im, the prophets, and the Ka for Ketovim, the writings. And each one of these sections builds right on top of the last. All right, let's head into the most sacred room in this library, the foundation of the whole thing. We're talking about the Torah, the core instruction. So, the Torah is made up of 5 books. You know them. Genesis, with the creation of the world. Exodus, the journey out of slavery. Leviticus, with all the sacred laws. Numbers, about the wanderings in the desert. And Deuteronomy, which is Moses' final big speech. This is it. This is the bedrock of the entire library. Okay, from that foundation, let's move into the next hall. This is the Nevi'im, or the prophets. And what's interesting is that this section isn't really about telling the future. It's more about making sense of the past. See, in this library, books like Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings, they're not just stuck on a shelf labeled history. No, they're called prophets. Why? Because they don't just tell history, they interpret it. They look at all these events through the lens of the people's relationship with God, showing the results of their choices and pulling out these really powerful spiritual lessons. And that brings us to our final hall in the library, the Ketuvim, or the writings. Man, this section is amazing. It's this incredible mix of poetry, wisdom, and stories, all reflecting on what it means to be human and how to live a life guided by the Torah. This is so cool. It really shows how this isn't just an old book, it's a living text. There's this special group of books in the writings called the 5 Scrolls, or Megillat, and they are directly plugged into the Jewish holidays. Each scroll gets read at a specific festival, which brings these ancient stories right into the life of the community year after year. Okay, so now we know the original floor plan, Torah, prophets, writings. That brings us back to our big question. Where did the other layout come from? Well, it's time to meet the main suspects in our little detective story. Our first clue leads us all the way back to the 3rd century BCE in Alexandria, Egypt. There was a huge Jewish community there that spoke Greek, not Hebrew. So a group of scholars got together and translated the scriptures into Greek. And this translation, called the Septuagint, did something new. They didn't just translate, they reorganized. They shelved the books by topic: history with history, wisdom with wisdom, prophecy with prophecy. And bam! You've got a totally new narrative flow. Okay, so while that's happening in Egypt, back in the land of Israel, you have this group of incredibly dedicated scribes called the Masoretes. For centuries, their whole mission was to perfectly, and I mean perfectly, preserve the original Hebrew text. Now, think about this. Ancient Hebrew didn't have written vowels. It was just consonants. So the Masoretes created this genius system of dots and dashes to add the vowels in, making sure the exact ancient way of reading and chanting the text would never, ever be lost. Ah, the timeline. This is where it all clicks into place. Look, the new theme-based order from the Greek Septuagint, it was adopted by the very first Christians hundreds of years before the Masoretes finished their work preserving the traditional Hebrew order. So the structure of the Christian Old Testament comes straight from that early Greek translation. Mystery solved? But this isn't just about shuffling books around. This change in organization is a huge deal because it leads to two completely different final pages, and each one sends a totally different message about what the whole story is all about. So let's look at the ending of the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh. It closes with the last words of 2nd Chronicles. It's this powerful declaration from the Persian king, Cyrus, who tells the Jewish exiles in Babylon, "You're free. Go back to Jerusalem, rebuild your temple." It's not really an ending, is it? It's an open-ended command, a call for the community to go home and start building again. But then you have the Christian Old Testament. Following that Greek order, it ends with the prophet Malachi. And this ending isn't about going back to a physical place. It's a prophecy, looking forward. It's a promise of a messenger who is yet to come. It acts like a bridge, pointing straight ahead to the New Testament. You can see why this worked so well for the early Christians, right? It's the perfect cliffhanger, turning the entire Old Testament into a prologue for their story. You know, when you think about the Masoretes and their incredible, painstaking dedication to getting every single detail right, it really makes you think. It gives us a powerful lesson about how important our own words are. And that brings us to this week's Midot Challenge. Think about it. These scribes worked for generations because they believed every letter, every single vowel mark was sacred. They understood something profound. Words don't just describe the world, they actually build the world around us. And if that's true, then we have to handle our own words with just as much care. So here's your challenge for this week. Be a Masorechite of your words. Before you speak, before you send that text, before you hit post, just take a 3-second pause. And in that pause, check your vowels and consonants. Ask yourself 3 simple things. 1, is it clear? 2, is it true? And 3, is it kind? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.